Summary of the interpretation of Surah An-Nisa, verse 10. This verse follows the emphasis placed on protecting the orphan's wealth, as if telling us, do not treat the orphan's wealth as ordinary money, because the orphan has no strong support to defend it. So God has placed it under the responsibility of the entire community. The meaning is that whoever takes the orphan's wealth unjustly is not merely taking money, but rather filling their stomach with what will be the cause of their torment. Therefore, the Quran uses a powerful image, saying, they are only consuming fire into their bellies. This means that this wealth, in reality, becomes a cause of punishment in the hereafter, as if it were a fire being prepared for them now. The intended meaning is not that fire is merely food to be consumed, but rather that this act itself carries within it a painful consequence. Because injustice does not go unpunished, especially when it is against the weak who cannot defend themselves. Then, God Almighty confirms the outcome by saying, and they will be burned in a blazing fire. This means that they will not escape accountability for this act, but will face severe punishment in hell. This warning serves as a lesson for the entire community, that the orphan's wealth is not a subject for greed, but rather a test of trustworthiness. True strength lies not in taking, but in preserving, caring for, and acting justly. From here, the context shifts to a broader framework for societal life, the distribution of inheritance. This occurs after purifying hearts from injustice and greed, as God Almighty begins. God instructs you concerning your children. Summary of the interpretation of Surah An-Nisa, verse 11. In this verse, God Almighty clarifies that He is the one who regulates the rights of heirs. His knowledge encompasses people's needs and what is best for them, exceeding their own self-knowledge. Therefore, the address begins with, God instructs you concerning your children, emphasizing that this distribution is not a human endeavor, but a divine decree based on wisdom and knowledge. The verse clarifies that the male receives twice the share of the female in inheritance. This is not an absolute preference, but rather linked to the man's responsibilities in providing for and earning. The woman's share, on the other hand, is reserved for her. She is not required to support anyone. It belongs solely to her, whether she is married or not. The verse then details the shares of daughters. If there are more than two, they receive 2/3. If there is only one, she receives half. It then explains the shares of the parents. Each receives 1/6 if the deceased had a child. If there were no children, the mother receives 1/3, and the remainder goes to the father. If there were siblings, the mother's share decreases to 1/6. The verse concludes by emphasizing that this division occurs after the execution of the will and the settlement of debts. It then reminds us that we cannot know what is most beneficial for us. What appears to be lesser may, in reality, be the greatest good. Therefore, we must submit to the wisdom of God, who places everything in its proper place with perfect knowledge and wisdom.